Welcome to Becoming Parents Podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Campbell. I'm a doula in Washoe County, Nevada, a Medicaid provider, a lactation educator, childbirth educator, and mom of 18. You can find me and connect on doulainreno.com. Remember, give a shout out to those who are brave enough to share their stories with us on how they have become parents. Let's dive in. Welcome to Becoming Parents Podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Campbell, and I have Michelle on, whose name I've tried to pronounce many times and failed. Pronounce your last name for me.
Choairy. It's a hard one. I get it.
And you told me that you're in Brazil visiting family right now, so that's the accent that we're hearing.
That's correct. That is
my
accent. I was born and raised in Brazil, and my accent is probably very like coming out today because I've been speaking Portuguese all day long.
Yeah, for sure. I grew up in New England in a neighborhood full of Portuguese families, and most of my friends' parents couldn't speak English. So I love it. It's a little bit of my childhood.
Gosh.
Yeah. I want you to jump in and tell us about your parenting journey.
Yes, this is exciting. That's what I'm here for, right? Okay. So I was actually, I started pretty late. You went through the whole dating process and then you finally find somebody, but you kind of find them a little bit later in life. And so, and I decided I really wanted to have a dad and a mom. I wanted to have a family before we really started a family. And so that was just something that I grew up with and it felt right to me. So we didn't get married until I was 36. And I kept telling him, I'm like, we probably need, if we're going to have kids, we probably need to get started pretty soon. And he was like, no, I don't know. So anyway, we decided we were going to have a child. And so I was 38 when I had him. I had been working for my day job, even now to this day. I've been with this company for 18 years. I worked for an orthopedic company. It's called Stryker Orthopedics. And I work in the operating room. And I make sure that the surgeons, when they're fixing your feet, that you broke your ankle or anything like that, I provide all of the hardware that goes inside your body. So I'm in the operating room all day long, and I come from the sales background. I'm on my feet all day long, and that was what work was. And so I was pretty healthy. I was 38. I was a little older, but I was healthy. I had no issues. Nothing. I was healthy. And so I was followed by my OB during the time that my pregnancy, just because I was over 35, the geriatric pregnancy.
I hate that. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so I was followed pretty consistently. And one day I went into an ultrasound. I was about 29 weeks pregnant. And all of a sudden I see this face of the tech that's doing my ultrasound. And I go, oh crap, something is going on. So the doctor comes in and he goes, you need to go across the street and you need to get admitted into the hospital. You have no amniotic fluid in there. Like, I don't even know, have you not felt him kicking? And I'm like, you know what? I haven't really, I was trying to count the kicks, but it's your first pregnancy. How are you supposed to know what it's supposed to feel like? And so we walked across the street and I got admitted at 29 weeks. And that was very stressful because I ended up on bed rest for 3 weeks. And he was very small and he had D cells in utero. And at 32 weeks, they decided, you know what, we gotta get him out because he had a very deep, long D cell in utero. And so they're like, you know what, we gotta get him out. And that was super stressful. So I had to go from working full time all day long on my feet to going to bed rest.
Yeah.
3 weeks. I couldn't even get out of bed. Like I had to pee in a bucket. You know,
Yeah.
it was awful. And because I was so early in the pregnancy, they brought in all the people. They're like, you know what? We don't know how he's going to be when he is born. We're going to have a team of doctors there that's going to be just for him, and you're going to have a team of doctors there because you're going to have a C-section. And that was, I will tell you that that day was probably one of the scariest days of my life, because all I wanted to hear was him crying. Because if he cried, then he had an airway and that he could breathe on his own. So that was like the pregnancy part of this, and it was pretty stressful. I was 38 and like going from working full time to being on bed rest to being like, I mean, the nurses would flock into the hospital bed and like turn me around because he needed to, his little heartbeat was not going. And so it was pretty crazy. But I mean, he came out at 32. He was tiny. He was 3 pounds, 3 pounds, literally like a little doll. And it was tough because he was in the NICU for a month, and I learned how to be a mom in the NICU.
Yeah.
And I will tell you that the nurses in the NICU, they really teach you how to do that, because I mean, for us, poor moms, most of us had C-sections that are in the NICU with the babies in there. We can't walk very well, and of course they want you to pump.
Yep.
My son couldn't breastfeed because he couldn't, swallow and breathe at the same time, so you couldn't do it. So they're like, okay, well, let's get you pumping. And so they actually would tell you, hey, it's time for you to pump. They literally took care of your baby, but they also took care of the moms. And so I love those NICU nurses. So if anybody's listening to us right now and you're a NICU nurse, thank you, thank you, thank you for what you do, because I couldn't have done it without you. And so that was a tough part, like having to leave your child behind and going home. It was so awful. It was a hard time in
I
my
think
life.
I would think also when you're in that hospital room on bed rest, your lifestyle changed. That's hard. You're peeing in a bedpan. The first baby, I was still more private about my body. After you go through an experience like this, you're like, I don't care anymore. It's fine. But like initially, it's not common for us to have somebody put a bedpan underneath us so we can pee, like, right? Because I was on bed rest with
Yes.
my first. I remember peeing in a pitcher. Like there was this little,
Oh my gosh.
it's so you're getting over like a lot of stuff, and you're afraid. You're afraid for yourself. You're afraid for your baby. My first daughter was a NICU baby also for a month, same pumping thing. I remember once that the head neonatologist at the NICU looked at me and said, I want you to go home and I want you to have a glass of wine. And I don't want you to worry about it affecting your breast milk, but if you're freaked out, dump it. But you need to go home, and like mental health, you need to go home and disconnect from the hospital a little bit and like loosen up. You're way too
Yes.
uptight. So, I mean, they really do take care of you, your pumping schedule, your breast milk. That's why I got into birth work. A year after my daughter was born, I was a breastfeeding counselor and starting birth work, because the way they take care of you and love on you and take care of your baby and train you to take care of your baby with the tubes and it's nuts. There's so yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. I completely agree with that. But the fear that you felt in that period of time too, of like wanting to make it a certain gestation so that the baby would be healthier. I'm sure you got steroid shots because baby's lungs,
Oh,
and them coming in a panic to move you to get the baby's heartbeat back. Like, holy crap, the fear and stress in that situation, like, let's not minimize that. That's pretty massive.
oh. It was awful. And it's funny because you're talking, and the one thing I can remember is how badly I wanted to take a shower, and I could not take a freaking shower. Like that was awful. Like, I mean, after a while, you like, a bedpan is a bedpan and whatever,
Right.
after a while, after you go like two or three times, and like I said, I'm Brazilian, so this kind of stuff didn't never really. And I was in the operating room, the
True.
medical
Yeah.
field. So for me, like that stuff didn't bother me, but oh my gosh, all I wanted was a freaking shower, standing up in a shower, letting the water come down on me. Oh, and that's the one thing that I can like that we were as you were talking, I could think of. I'm like, oh my gosh, the
The
shower.
shower.
Yes,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
shower.
The only shower when I was on bed rest, it was at home, and the only shower was up the stairs. So there, like, I wasn't allowed to walk across the house and up the stairs and get into a shower either. It's just
Yeah.
there's so many weird things too that you wouldn't like that you wouldn't think would bother you that really bothers you. So he's born in
Yes.
the OR. Did you hear the cry?
Hmm. I did, and that
Okay.
was when it was like. So they brought him to me. They laid him on me for like maybe 10 seconds, not
Yeah.
even that. And they said, we got to go take care of him. So they pulled him away. And I mean, then of course they had to suture me, right? Close me up because
Yeah.
I had, I was still opened up. So they take him, whisk him away. My husband went, I think, not went with them, but he saw the baby before I did because I had to go to recovery
Yeah.
and all of that, because of the C-section. But it was so scary. I think that besides the showers, the worst part is when you have the neonatologist, you have these doctors coming in and basically telling you, we really don't know how this is going to be. It could go in so many directions.
Yeah.
And really, they try to teach you, right? They try to prepare you for what is going to come. And in your mind, when you get pregnant, you have this idea of what your child's going to be like or how your life is going to be, right? Like, oh, I have a child. And then this happens. And so you go, okay, are we going to have issues? Are we going to have problems because of this? And I did.
Yeah.
I am in the middle of it. My
Yeah.
son has a rare genetic disorder that now that I look back, to be honest, like until we found out that he had this genetic disorder, I thought that I ate too much Taco Bell and drank too much Dr. Pepper when I was pregnant. And so I was blaming myself,
Yeah.
for what had happened. And so, but we didn't get this diagnosis until about 3 years ago. And he is one out of 200 kids in the world with this diagnosis. So we don't know what they are like in the future. There's like a very big spectrum of there's he speaks, he walks. His speech is not perfect. He still goes to speech therapy. He's 10.
Okay.
And, mentally, he's like probably a 6-year-old or a 7-year-old. He doesn't read, he doesn't write. So we do have that intellectual disability. But, when you get pregnant and you're going through this, you worry about it, right? But you can't like, I don't know. It was so scary. And then, I had to deal with it. I had to deal with it. And so when he was about 18 months old is when we really started noticing delays and he couldn't
Okay.
eat. And he wouldn't stop. I mean, the kid was climbing. There were no words. He couldn't say mama, dada, anything. He just grunted, And so, we started getting services through the state program in California. And it was great because then, they kind of lead you, they kind of help you. But as a mom, when this is happening and you're starting out and you know nothing about it,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, it is a feeling of despair. Like you're lost. And so we went through that, and that was tough. That was tough. Really, probably one of, it goes, it messes with you.
I
So,
think I have a son who's autistic who's 25 now. And when he was little, we adopted him at 2 and we knew that he had issues, but autism wasn't really talked about much then. And I think for me, I remember at one point saying, I don't care what his diagnosis is. I just want to know what it is so I can do the best job myself, so I can understand what he's going through, so I can parent better, and also he can get the correct services. And like this is the rest of his life. So you can diagnose him as any like I want it to be accurate, obviously. You want the right diagnosis, but I wasn't looking for anything specific. I just wanted to understand. You feel helpless, you feel like a bad parent, you want to do the best, you want to advocate, but you don't even know how to advocate because you don't really know what they need, especially at that 18 months when they're nonverbal and you feel like something's wrong, but you can't really pinpoint it and you're trying to figure it out and there's nobody to get help from. It is a very helpless and you feel very isolated. You had a diagnosis that was so rare. You notice at 18 months, like you knew at 18 months, okay, something's not right. How long did it take you? We're at 10 years now from 18 months to get the actual diagnosis. And that's such a rare one. Like mine's not rare. Autism's not rare. And
mhm.
it took us till high school to get the
Oh,
actual
wow.
full diagnosis.
Hmm.
It's terrible, right? It takes a lot.
Yes.
How long did it take you to get that? Was it through blood? Um, and then what? And then what?
Okay. So, you kind of, what you said was exactly what I am trying to do. And I'm trying to help moms that are going through exactly what you just said. Like you don't know how to advocate for them. You
Right.
don't know what it is. You're lost. And that's exactly how I felt. Right. And I think that anybody that goes through this, that's how they feel. So for me, and the way it was, I have what I like to call a mama gut, right? You have that mama gut
Mhm.
feeling. And if you feel like there's something, like I tell the moms that I'm working with, if you're questioning, go check it out because just follow it through. Because if it's something, then it's something. If it's not, it's not. But just so going back to the diagnosis, we did not get the diagnosis until he was 8.
Oh,
So
see, that's what I'm saying. Like,
for 8 years,
yeah.
and we were kind of in a different situation because so he had like he was behind. His first diagnosis was a speech disorder. So he got a speech disorder, and so we started looking for a speech therapist, and then now, like about 8 years ago, like it was everything. They want to diagnose you. And I feel like autism, if the child is not talking, if the child is not anything, like they want to put you into the spectrum. And so, and he just didn't fit that profile.
Mm.
And had I just accepted the fact that, hey, he has autism, I don't think that we would have ever had the genetic testing done because I would have accepted the
Okay.
fact that that's what it was, right? But I knew that that it wasn't. He has some traits of autism because that is part of the disorder that he
Okay.
has of the diagnosis. But he was a super social kid. He didn't have problems with interactions. He couldn't talk, and it wasn't because he didn't want to. He wanted to. It's just that he couldn't. So he had a motor planning problem. So, we like that was a big difference. And had I just accepted what they were trying to tell me, I mean, I wouldn't have pushed for genetic testing. I wouldn't have pushed for any of that. And here's the interesting thing is that we had tried earlier to get a genetic test done, but we got denied by the insurance company. Looking back,
Oh
had we had the
no.
genetic testing done at that time, it would have been negative because they couldn't test for that
Oh,
disorder
wow. Oh my gosh.
until,
Okay. So,
yes.
so I would be disappointed. like that it got denied. And actually, that was a blessing in disguise
Oh,
for you because holy cow. Okay.
yes, yes. And they actually think that TBR1 is underdiagnosed because it wasn't until 2021, I think, that they were able, 2021 or 2022, that they were able to actually test for this disorder, for this genetic.
Wow.
So anybody who got a genetic testing before that, it wouldn't show. So
Wow.
they think that, it's underdiagnosed, but we'll see. But because so we're in a Facebook group, and it's the TBR1 is what it's called.
Okay.
And we get people every so often. And so it's actually picking up. Like we get one, or like probably one or two a week now. So it's
Wow.
growing. It's growing. It's getting
Which
there.
is good and
When
bad.
we,
I mean, you
but
don't, you want it to grow so people that have to deal with this have information, but you don't want it to grow in the sense that is this happening more frequently for some reason?
correct. But I think that it's already there. And
Okay.
he is a de novo, which I don't have it. My husband doesn't have it, but he has it. And, you know, so you were asking if anything changed once we got the diagnosis. The only thing that changed is that I felt like, okay, it's not my fault. Like it was when
Oh,
hit, because you have that guilt. I carried that guilt in my head. I was like, did I not? I shouldn't. I should have counted the kicks. I should have called my doctor sooner. I should have, all of these things that you just carry with you. And I mean, could I have done that? Probably, but it wasn't because of that. It was because he had this disorder, and
yeah.
it keeps them small, and they have a delay, a developmental delay, and he was already delayed even in utero. So you you know I mean, nothing changed in regards to therapy. He continues to go to speech therapy. He
Okay.
continues to do physical therapy. And I mean, nothing changed in regards to that. The only thing that did change, and that I'm grateful for, is that in California we have a state funded program that we were able to get in because of this. And now basically, like, we get some benefits from that. They pay for respite care for us.
Oh, good.
Um, you know, they basically, he's in the in the system. So if anything were to happen to me or our insurance, he has insurance through the government, and all of these things. That was the only thing that changed. Did I change anything that I was doing with him? Any therapies or anything like that? No, nothing changed besides
Wow.
that.
I mean, Michelle, it makes my heart so sad that you carried so much blame for 8 years. I mean, plus a pregnancy. So almost 9 years. That's so heavy, that you think I did something to cause this. So I'm so sad that that's how you felt and so grateful you don't anymore because wow,
Thank you.
that's heavy. And but I can tell you because I adopted my son that's autistic and we got him when he was 2, I was very angry at his birth parents because of the neglect and abuse. And I knew that that potentially was why he was so developmentally delayed. And I don't know if that's the
Mm-hmm.
case or not, but I had to let go of that anger. So I get it. If I had been directing that towards myself, that would have been devastating. Um, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm also so glad that you didn't have to change anything. So you were doing all the right things. You were advocating getting the services.
Yes, because I had to learn the hard way, right? Like us moms that go through this,
Mhm.
we make mistakes. We go through the ups and downs of trying to figure out what it is that we should be doing. And
Mhm.
you said it so right. You said we all want to be great, amazing moms for our children, but we just don't know how to. We
No.
don't. Nobody gives you, like, here you go. This is what you need to do now.
Yeah.
Nobody gives you that. So
True. And I mean, I always felt like there shouldn't be a parenting book because we all do it so wildly different. But at the same time, you also don't have any guidance. And then when you're in a situation that's unique like this, you're more lost, I feel like. Because he wasn't my first child. He was like fifth one in. And, I felt like, holy cow, I thought I knew what I was doing to some degree. And now I don't, I know less what I was doing. So,
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's so hard because I don't want people telling me how I should do it. Like there's only one way because parenting is so varied. And also, like, give me some guidelines, something.
Yes.
So, I mean, I
Yeah.
vacillate on that, and I see it every day, parents trying to figure out how they want to parent their kids. There's so many decisions. And then this throws all of that off because you can't even
Yes.
parent necessarily the way you wanted to. So,
Correct.
first of all, with something so rare, what does that mean for him? What is his long-term diagnosis? So you said he's 6 or 7. Is he emotionally going to stay stuck at a certain point? Like he'll only get to a certain point and that's it? What does independent living look like? Education, like what do things look like for his life?
We have no idea. There are
Mm,
so little of us. And there's such a big spectrum that so we do have a couple of adults that are diagnosed. So
okay.
there's some that are they don't talk, they don't walk necessarily, and they're like in their 20s. So that is probably on the like lower functional spectrum. And then there are the higher functioning uh, diagnose, people, kids, not kids, but adults. There's actually, this is very interesting because we just found that out, is that there's a mom who has TBR1 and her child has TBR1. So
Mm,
it passed on. And so, but I mean, if you have a child, I think, I don't know what the level of functionality is, but we don't know. And that's what's so
wow.
hard is that there's 200 of us. We don't know.
And like you
So,
said, it varies in intensity or severity, which
yes,
like
yes.
similarly to autism and a lot of other things, you can be so varied just because you have this thing, it doesn't look the same for everyone. So you're kind of
Mm-hmm.
giving him the right services,
Mm-hmm.
doing everything you can and taking it day by day, year by year.
Yes. Yes.
Tell me about the business that you started because of this. I don't know if it's a nonprofit or I stalk you everywhere though, but tell me about that. Like I know why
Well,
you did it, but like tell me what that looks like.
sure. So honestly, like it is such a hard thing to be a mom going through this. And I went through it, and I don't want other moms to go through what I went through. The
Right.
trial and error, I mean, that's still going to happen, but at least having a roadmap in a way on how it is that you should be doing this and how to approach it. So I decided, I kind of looked back at what I did and how I got to what I did for my son. And really, like I came up with like 6 things that I could think of. One is,
Okay.
and I call it Thrive. So I'm going to go through the letters.
I
So the
love it.
first one is teamwork, because it takes a village and you need to find the correct medical team for your child.
Hmm.
Going to just a general pediatrician, they don't know anything. Like,
Right.
I mean, that's not your answer right there. So you got to figure out like what are the deficits? Where are the things that you need to work on? And then you build a team around your child, and
Hmm.
they will become advocates along with you. So the biggest thing, and this is my whole thing, is parents need to become their kids' best advocate. So this is how you do it. It's going through this Thrive program. Okay.
Okay.
So they are, the H is help systems, and that is insurance companies dealing how to
Mm.
deal with them. going through the state funded programs, school districts. So we kind of talk about all of that in the help systems, which is the H. And then regulation, the R, is like relationships. It's taking care of your um, family, the people around you, and having good communication and bringing them into your village. Because when you have a child that is what I call a complex kid, people don't understand. And you need to teach them, and you need to really help them understand what it is that you're going through. So we talk about those relationships. And then we go into integration, and like, you got to take care of yourself. You were saying, go get your glass of wine, take 5 deep breaths or something like that. You have to take care of yourself, because if you don't, if you're not well, your child's not well.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the validation, which to me is the celebrating every single step, every small thing, we went on a hike the other day, and it was the first time that we did, because he's 10 years old. It was the first time without a meltdown. And I will tell you that I threw a party that night. I was like, let's go to a nice restaurant. We went on a hike. You got to celebrate those small things that happen in your life. And then the last one to me, which is the E, is expect the miracle. Because if you do all of these steps, you will find yourself as the best advocate for your child, and your child will thrive along with you, and they will become the best that they can be. So that encompasses my business, which is called Collective Wisdom for Complex Kids. And we bring in different like speech therapists, occupational therapists. We do some guiding that way. I do a lot of trainings on my Facebook group, and that's what I'm doing. Yeah, I just want to help these mamas out.
I loved looking up all of your social media. We have all the links in the show notes, but I loved looking at it because obviously the support is there for people that need it, not just who are diagnosed specifically, but just complex kids in general. Anyone can kind of plug into this. And you're right. It feels lonely and isolating, and I love the support that you're giving to other families who are struggling. I just appreciate that so much.
Oh, thank you. And I will tell you, like, I have been in my day job for 18 years,
Mm-hmm.
and I have not felt this excited about a, anything in a long, long time.
Yeah.
And I just absolutely love talking to these moms, because you can see how they feel. They go, oh my gosh, I'm not alone. I
Yeah.
have somebody who is like coaching me through the steps that I need to take to make sure that my child's taken care of. So, and they just feel like there's this sense of community and a sense of belonging that you can't get in other ways. So,
Michelle, thank you so much for being on and sharing your story. What a tough one. And the tenacity that you're utilizing to get through all of this and to help others. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
well, thank you for having me. This is great. And I love it that you know how it feels. And any moms out there, just remember you're not alone. And we love you, and there's people out here for you.